We've got our top 5 luxury compact SUV picks.
Now, recently, we did the top 5 non-luxury compact SUVs, and the card is up here.
Yeah.
A lot of people chimed in on that. There's one controversial pick, so make sure you go and watch it. And we got some feedback, and people said, hey, we want the luxury ones too.
Yeah.
So here we go. Now, one thing we should mention, Andrea, these aren't the top 5 of 2021.
No, this is overall our top picks of what is available.
All right, we're going to, before we get to the top 5, we're going to do some honorable mentions.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing before we start. This category is not that good. Like, you would think that they're luxury cars, oh, they're the best. Actually, a lot of them, except for a few, are kind of disappointing.
There are things that we like about all of them, and then there's things that we don't like. So it's a good combination. As we were going through the list, Zach and I kind of had a hard time of which one to put in first place and which one to put in last and which ones to give honorable mentions.
Okay, well, while you're on it, let's do the honorable mentions.
Yeah.
The first one is the all-new 2022 Lexus NX. What? Hey, what? You didn't put a Lexus in there? Why isn't the Lexus in the top 5?
Well, first off, let's talk about the positives of the Lexus NX. It comes with 4 powertrains. One is a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and the other is a plug-in hybrid. They get 61 kilometers, 37 miles of EV range, just a little bit less than that RAV4 Prime, which is tops for EV range.
The biggest reason for me that this isn't in here is they jacked the prices way up on this NX. The turbo, the 2.4-liter turbo we mentioned, is way more expensive than the Acura RDX it competes against.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in the US, the pricing against the Acura RDX is more competitive. But in Canada, we have completely different pricing. I don't quite understand it.
And it's a lot.
It's a lot. And I do like the technology of the NX. That 14-inch touchscreen is great. They got rid of the trackpad. I'm so happy about that. But one of the biggest negatives for me, especially in the plug-in hybrid, is the run-flat tires.
Yeah, it's noisy. And we do have another vehicle coming up that has run-flat tires, but they do a better job of insulating the road noise in the cabin. So that's a detriment. And the other one is the rear seat space. She's tight.
Yes, the dimensions of this new NX are surprisingly small, more in line with the Audi Q3 than something like the Q5, but it goes up against the Q5 because the pricing is close.
We left out the Mercedes-Benz GLC. It could easily be in our top 5.
Yeah.
Now, we decided to move it out to make room for something else, only because this vehicle's in its very, very last months of production. They're moving to an all-new GLC. Now, that one might make the list next year, but this year we took it out.
Yeah, and some new things that are coming up. We see on the new C-Class model that we would only assume that this GLC would be very similar. It's going to have a 48-volt mild hybrid system. It's going to have some good horsepower and torque. It's got a 12.3-inch digital driver display and a new 11.9-inch tablet style screen that's going to be right at the center console. These are big changes for Mercedes-Benz. It's going to have a very different look.
The good news is, if you're in the market for a luxury SUV, the interior of this GLC, the way it is today, is still right near the very top, in our opinion. So you might get a great lease on one if they're trying to blow some out. Give it a shot if you don't mind driving the last year of what is a really good product. The next one is the Volvo XC60. If you look at it in terms of dimensions, it's right at the very top. It's quite big, almost between 2 categories. Now, in my opinion, it didn't go in. I'm not a huge fan of the infotainment screen, and Volvo reliability isn't super strong.
No. Now, stylish, yes. I think it's got a great exterior look. It's comfortable. One thing I like about Volvo is it offers a refined drive. You really do feel like you're in a luxury vehicle. I also think the interior fit and finish is very good. It has 2 powertrains, the gas model and, of course, the plug-in hybrid, but it doesn't offer a lot of range, as most of these luxury plug-in hybrids do not. One problem I have with that recharge is it starts at just under $70,000, where I could get the X330e for just under $55,000.
Or for $7,000 more, you can get a Model Y, full electric. Go figure.
Yeah.
This video is brought to you by Car Cost Canada. Get the dealer's cost, list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code Motormouth to become an expert member and get extra searches. The link is in the description below.
Number 5, the Acura RDX, hands down the clear winner if you're looking for value in this category.
And space. It offers a lot of space, whether it's space behind the second row with a flat floor or even cargo capacity. One thing I don't like about it is the trackpad. It is just not a favorite of mine, but I think for overall value, for space for a family, the RDX is definitely one to consider.
Let's look at the specs.
The RDX gets a refresh for 2022 and it comes with more standard features now. Has a bit of an MDX vibe to it. It comes with a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with a 10-speed automatic transmission, 272 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque, standard all-wheel drive in Canada, and both front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options in the US.
The most attractive thing about the RDX is the price. In Canada, it comes with standard all-wheel drive, and it starts at $45,800. In the US, the all-wheel drive model starts at $41,500. The top trim in Canada is $58,000, and the top trim in the United States is $51,300.
Number 4 goes to the Audi Q5.
We always call this the best all-rounder. It doesn't really excel in anything, but it does everything very, very well. It's a really competent vehicle, and they never change the design too much because people like it.
And I think that this appeals to more people because it has lighter steering. It's easy to maneuver in and out of town. I think that overall, the people I speak to who buy the Q5 like it, as Zach says, as a good all-rounder.
It is the best seller in this category, so a lot of people have put their money behind Audi.
Now, there is something we don't like about the Q5, and that's the controller at the center console. So what did Audi do? They got rid of it.
They pulled it out.
They pulled it out, and now it's just a touchscreen. But the problem with this touchscreen is that it sits too far away from the driver. We have had followers who have purchased the Q5, and they didn't realize it at first, but they were both petite women, and over time their back started hurting because they were always leaning forward to touch the touchscreen.
Now, other brands have gone to a touch-sensitive screen. That's fine. And the reason they're doing this is because all cars are getting integrated with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have to have a touchscreen for that. But other brands like BMW and Mercedes, with the current GLC, for example, have the controller and the touchscreen so you can use either. Audi took it out, and in its place, they just left this hole in the center of the console, a strange design. It just looks like a cost-cutting measure. And then you talk about the interior overall. It's very simple. Yeah,
it's simple and clean. What I would like to see in this Q5 is either the integrated screen that's in the Q3 or in the Q7, and I'm sure Audi is going to get there for sure. Another big complaint about the Q5 is that it comes with fake exhaust pipes, and even on the SQ5 it's the same thing. However, you can buy a package and you can get real ones.
Let's look at the specs.
The Audi Q5 has 3 powertrain options. The base model has a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with an 8-speed automatic transmission and a 12-volt mild hybrid system, 261 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque.
The SQ5 is a 3-liter turbocharged V6 with 349 horsepower. Then there's the Q5e plug-in hybrid with a combined 362 horsepower and just 37 kilometers or 23 miles of EV range.
The Audi Q5 starts at $48,000 Canadian, $45,600 US. The top Technic trim is $59,500 Canadian and just over $56,000 US.
The base SQ5 is $67,000 Canadian, $55,500 US. The Q5e is $71,700 in Canada, $54,500 US.
Number 3 for the X3. What a good rhyme to it. Wow, we picked the X3 because, well, Zach, it's one of my favorites for the drive.
It's got great handling, really nice steering feel. I love the interior. I used to be sort of beating up on BMW that they didn't evolve their interiors very much. But now that we've driven all of these touchscreen interfaces on new models, I appreciate BMW's logic. So they have the touchscreen. They have the rotary iDrive controller, and they also have hot keys for things you use all the time. Everybody's happy.
I agree with you, Zach, on all those points, but I think that BMW is getting maybe a little cheap with their interiors. There's a lot more hard plastic throughout. We also see that in the Audi too. And I just want to point out that Acura RDX, which is in 5th place, has mostly soft touch materials within its cabin.
And you would think with BMW, the interior gets better if you get a bigger, more powerful, more expensive engine. Not the case.
No.
Their base interior is the base interior regardless of power plant, and the base interior in the X3 looks cheap.
Yeah, it does. And even the leather, well, leatherette versus leather, it's all just...
Their leather is like plastic.
Yeah, well, they're Vernasca leather.
It's not good. I mean, you look at a Hyundai Santa Fe, calligraphy, beautiful. I'll show you pictures right now. Look at the interior of that. That's a non-premium utility in this kind of space. Way less money, much nicer interior.
What I love about the X3 is the way it handles, the way it drives, the heavier steering. You can change that depending on your drive mode. It's just such a fun and entertaining drive that it is definitely one that's difficult to beat.
Now, let's get into the specs, and they give you options, which are good.
The X3 offers 4 powertrains. The base model is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with an 8-speed automatic transmission, 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque.
BMW offers a 3-liter inline 6-cylinder with 382 horsepower. Then there's the X3M with 473 horsepower, and also a plug-in variant called the 30E. It has 288 horsepower, but just 29 kilometers or 18 miles of EV range.
The base model, all-wheel drive model, comes in at just under 53,000 Canadian, 45,700 US. The M40i is just under 71,000 Canadian, 57,800 US. The 30E is just under $58,000, and the M is 93,700 Canadian, 69,900 US.
Full disclosure, number 2, the brand we like. We're sitting in a Porsche right now. We're in our Porsche Cayenne. We have 2 Porsche Cayennes. We've owned 3. We've owned 2 911s. We kind of like Porsche. It's the Macan at number 2.
You know what? That Macan is one of my favorites. If I didn't have a Cayenne, I would have a Macan. I get the fact that it's not a big vehicle. The second row doesn't offer a lot of space, but it is a wonderful handling vehicle, and Porsche deserves credit for that. What a performer.
And Porsche also has very high quality. We can testify to that. We've owned many of these products, and it just looks good. It drives well. Andrea loves, as she mentioned, the handling aspects of it. And when you get behind the wheel, especially with the higher performance models like an S or a GTS or a Turbo, boy, you feel special. They sound fantastic. It's just a really wonderful place to spend time.
Now, we love the current Macan with all of the buttons. I think it's an absolutely stunning interior. There is a new one coming out. It's just arriving at dealerships now. It no longer has all those buttons that we're used to, but I'm sure it's going to be a winner.
And the outside, they tweaked it ever so slightly as well. So we're showing you the previous model with the buttons and the slightly dated now exterior, but the new one, it's an evolution. This is going to be, by the way, it's one of those, if you like it, get it, because it's not going to be around for long.
No.
So they have their different engines. We're going to run through that in a second. But all reports are this is going to be the last Macan with the gasoline powertrains. They're going full electric for the next model, so get it while you can. And for this 2022 mild facelift, they gave more power to all the engines.
The Macan base model has a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with 261 horsepower. The Macan S has a 2.9-liter twin turbocharged V6 with 375 horsepower, and the GTS with the same engine as the S but with more power, 434 horsepower.
Porsches are expensive. The base model starts at $58,500 in Canada and just under $55,000 in the US. The S starts at $70,500 in Canada, $65,500 in the United States. The GTS is $85,500 Canadian and just under $80,000 US.
And our number one top pick goes to the Genesis GV70.
This wasn't our top pick until we drove the base model 2.5-liter turbo. Of course, when car companies launch their vehicle, they always give us the top model with the more powerful engine and all the features.
Yep.
But it's way too expensive. And then they gave us the 2.5-liter base engine. Game changer.
Now, we did drive that base engine in the Santa Fe and also in the Sorento, but you really got to drive it in the vehicle that you want. In this GV70, it's a standout. The 2.5T is a terrific engine and it's priced just right.
And this GV70 base model engine has the most horsepower.
Yeah.
Behind that, in second place, goes to the Stelvio from Alfa Romeo, and the RDX number 5 on our list is just behind that. It's a powerful engine and it offers a lot of torque as well, and it really is a fun vehicle to drive.
Really
and we're going to get to the price, and that's the reason why it's really at number 1.
I love the exterior design of the GV70. It's a standout on the road. You know, our second pick is the Macan. Well, guess what? It really has a Macan vibe to it from the back, and to me, it looks a lot like the 2019 Macan from the back. I think the interior is also very beautiful.
Well, this is one area where a lot of these vehicles are really falling down, like the Q5 from Audi.
Yeah.
A kind of a goofy screen and a cobbled together center console. Yeah. The X3 has terrible, what they call leather. We don't think it's leather. I think they're calling it that. And then you look at the interior of this vehicle and it's like head and shoulders above the rest.
The infotainment system in the GV70 is easy enough to use, and it has a dial at the center console, so you can either control it that way or through the touchscreen, whatever you like.
So we're going to get to the price, which really sealed the deal for us. But as a first attempt at a luxury compact utility, Genesis did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
That wasn't our impression with the 3.5-liter turbo. We thought they priced it too high in the Canadian market. Yeah. So let's get into the price and all the other specs.
The GV70 offers two powertrains, a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with an 8-speed automatic transmission, 300 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque.
There's an optional 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 with 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque, and they come with standard all-wheel drive.
The GV70 is also coming out with an electric model, so that is something to look forward to. The base model 2.5T in the US starts at $41,000. In Canada, it starts at $49,000, and that same select model with a few extra features is $45,000 US. The top trim in Canada is $63,000, and in the US is just over $52,500.
If you go for the larger engine, the price jumps up a lot in Canada. $68,500, but it's $52,500 in the US. The top trim in Canada is $75,500 or $62,500 US. Well done, Genesis. You know what? That's an incredible accomplishment to come out of the gate with a product like this.
Yeah, we're both so impressed with it, which is why it's our #1 pick.
These are all really good choices. Yeah. Even the honorable mentions are all fantastic. Yeah. We are seeing a trend, though, in this category that some of the vehicles are kind of getting older. The Q5 is due for a refresh. The GLC is coming anytime soon. The X3, really, they need to do something about their interior materials.
Yeah.
So it's not perfect. You would think in the luxury space it would all be great. It's not.
No, not so much, but they're still great picks. I would be happy to drive any of them, frankly, but you have to tell us. These are our top picks, our top 5. What is your #1 pick? What would you choose? Do you agree with the GV70?
Well, that wraps it up for this top 5. If you want to follow on Instagram, I highly encourage you to follow Andrea. It's Motormouth_Andrea. Yeah. What else do we have to do?
Well, you got to subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop.
And we'll see you next time.